This barber pole on Main Street has been a familiar landmark to Los Altos residents for more than 50 years. Al's Barbershop is very reminiscent of a Norman Rockwell painting, reminding us of a much, much simpler time when gossip was exchanged, old friends were greeted, and time was not the commodity it is today. Al Geldridge, the Al of Al's Barbershop, will join us tonight to share his history as part of the Los Altos Main Street scene. I'm Nan Geschke. Good evening. I'm your host of the Los Altos History Show. This evening's guest is Al Geldridge. Welcome, Al. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, we had so much fun with Al this past weekend, and we've been chatting a little bit, and Al has told me that you lived in Honolulu for a while. How did you get over here to the mainland?
Well, I was born and raised in Honolulu, and my dad was in the military there in the Army. And after they bombed Pearl Harbor, they evacuated all military families over into the mainland.
So you were there at Pearl Harbor?
I sat on Diamond Head and watched the whole attack for 2.5 hours.
Oh,
on Diamond Head.
That's incredible.
Diamond Head, It was very incredible.
So
yes.
You came over here to...
I came over to live with my grandparents in Mountain View. They had a little ranch in Mountain View, so we came to live there, and then I went to school in Mountain View.
So you went to Mountain View High School then?
I went to Mountain View High School. I was there only for about a year and a half. And the day I turned 17, I volunteered for the Navy.
Oh.
Because after watching Pearl Harbor, I couldn't wait to get into that war. And
sounds like what a 17-year-old would do.
Well, at that time, I think everyone wanted to get into it under the circumstances, the way it happened.
Yes.
And they raised 8 weeks of boot camp, and
you were off, huh?
And I was off. So I spent 2.5 years in the Pacific on a rocket gunboat as the gunner's mate, and I made invasions of Guam and Iwo Jima, and all kinds of. I can go on and on for 2.5 years, but that was quite an experience.
Incredible time in your life.
It was an incredible time. Yes.
So then, did you come back here to Mountain View?
Yes, I came back to Mountain View, got discharged, and I was a junior when I volunteered for the Navy, so it was too late to go back to school. So I went and learned a trade, and so I went to Barber College in San Francisco.
Oh, Barber College. So
back in 1946, it was a 6-month course, 6 days a week.
And where did you go to work at first?
My first job was
San Francisco?
No, I was just strictly at Barber College in San Francisco.
Oh.
My first job was in Palo Alto on University Avenue.
Oh, so how did you get to Los Altos?
Well, it was a gentleman came in one day and sat in my chair, excuse me, and he said, my name's Ike Kerr. He whispered to me because he didn't want the other barbers to hear. He said, I own a shop in Los Altos. He said, how would you like to come to work for me? I said, I've always wanted to work in Los Altos. So this is how I came to Los Altos.
Oh, isn't that
interesting?
interesting?
Ike Kerr. So I worked there for about 1 year, and then he sold the shop out to me.
So what year was this now? What year?
This was back in 1948.
48.
Mm-hmm.
So what was Los Altos like, and what was the Main Street in the downtown section of Los Altos like in 1948?
To be honest with you, it wasn't much.
Not much, huh?
No, not much. It was just mainly a Main Street, 2 blocks, and that was about it. We had our gas station, our drugstores, 2 drugstores, Sammy Kahn and Larry Nelson and Frank Williamson gas station, and it was just a little mom and pop stores that
You said there was a bakery.
There was a bakery down there.
And a liquor store.
And a liquor store, Johnny Mayo's.
And a men's haberdashery.
A men's haberdashery. Russell Houston were very, very famous for their clothes. Matter of fact, I bought this jacket from Russell Houston, I say, about 30 years ago.
Oh, a vintage jacket then.
Yes,
huh?
they don't make them like this anymore.
Well, I understand that there is someone in your shop who's been there almost as long as you have. Your associate and friend, and who is he?
Well, Louis Pyro came to me very young in life. He was only 18 years old, right out of high school. He went to barber college, got his license, and he came to work for me. And Louis and I had been together for 46 years, and this is the 47th year that he's been with me. And we've had quite a close relationship all these years working together.
I think we have a couple of photographs of you and Louis coming up on, the first one coming up on the monitor now is of you. That
was taken in 1948 when we first started together there in Los Altos.
And if we want to bring up that second one, we get to see what you look like now. When
now we have no hair.
There you are.
There we are, two baldies. Yeah, Louis became the godparents to my twins. So we became very close family.
But I understand that that things are not always copacetic, that you do have a few disagreements with Louis.
Every election year we fought like cats and dogs. Louis was a Democrat and I was a Republican, and we never did see eye to eye when it came to politics. We always had a real good go around, and the customers all got in and pitched in too, and then they started a lot of the arguments because they came in there and they would instigate the argument between Louis and I.
So you had you have lots of discussions, friendly discussions in the barbershop.
A lot of friendly discussions, yes. From the customers and especially from Louis and I.
Oh, that's really sounds like a lot of fun. Now, was there ever a time, in your business when things weren't going as well as they are, for example, right now?
We hit some real disastrous years when the Beatles came over to the United States.
Is that right?
When they came over with that long hair, everybody just quit getting a haircut. I mean, they stopped cold turkey. And then to make matters worse, when they got out of the picture, the Rolling Stones came right behind them. and things were pretty lean there for about, I say, good 10, 15 years. The haircutting business was very, 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 very bad.
But you did keep your shop open.
Oh, yes, I kept the shop open and worked with it all. And then in the end now, like I say, 40, 50 years later, the haircuts right now are all going back to the 40s. It all turned around.
Isn't that interesting how that happens?
Yes, I have a chart in the shop that was taken in '48 of all the hairstyles, and I still have that in the shop. And now they come in and they look at that and say, I want an Ivy League and I want a flat top.
And you were cutting those styles.
Well, those were the famous haircuts back in the 40s, where all the flat tops and crew cuts and Ivy League. And those were their styles. And now those styles are all coming back.
Isn't that interesting? Now, you must have developed a lot of customer loyalty over the years to have stayed in business for over 50 years.
Yes, I have.
You must have some very long-term customers.
Well,
you want to share some stories about those?
One of my longest customers came with me from Palo Alto. His name is Ashley Chapman, and I've been cutting his hair now for 53 years.
53 years?
And he still comes in to see me every 2-3 weeks. He lived in Los Altos, and he's one of my few of my chartered customers. But old time customers like Dave Packard, I've been cutting his hair for 48 years. And most of the founders in the old days, when they started Silicon Valley, like the Varian brothers, they were customers of mine, and Itel and McCullough, and they were customers of mine, and the retired vice president of General Motors, Earl Dawson.
Oh, yes.
Bill bought a big, beautiful home here off of Magdalena, built a big mansion up there, and he was quite an interesting customer to talk to.
Did you mention Cal Flint?
Well, Cal Flint, I've known Cal Flint when I was in a Kiwanis Club, and he made a presentation, and said, this community needs a junior college, and you're going to get it whether you like it or not. And so
we're sitting right here, right,
yes,
right on the campus.
He bought 100 acres off one of my customers, the Lomans, was 100 acres here, right where Los Altos Foothill College is now, and built Foothill, and then he built Flint Center also.
Oh, that's interesting.
He was a very dynamic
Now that
person.
I know that you're moving off Main Street, and but you'll be moving back again in the fall, but not on the main street. You'll be in the back. Where are you in the interim? You know, so your customers know where you're going to be.
Right now, I'm on First and State Street. The beauty parlor was moved out also, and it's called Bellissimo. It's on First and State, and I'm working there. I call it the hen house. I'm working with all these women there, and I'm getting used to it. I like it. And,
I bet you won't even want to leave when it's...
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But I'll be there for a good 5 months till they build a new building, the site where I was previously.
Now, are you going to miss seeing your customers on Main Street?
I'm going to miss Main Street immensely because I had a bird's eye view of Main Street. I'd look down to all of Main Street, the bakery, and I would see what's going on in town all day long, and all the customers, and that I'm going to miss. I'm going to be back in the alley, and in the plaza, as they call it.
Well, thanks, Al, so much for joining this evening to share some of your wonderful stories with us. Al's invited us back to his shop on Main Street May 1st, and we interviewed his longtime friend and associate, Louis Pyro, and several customers, and we joined in the festivities. So I hope you stay tuned and join us for that last day on Main Street of Al's Barbershop. Let's roll that tape now. We're here with Louis Pyro, who is Al's associate and has been for a long time. How many years, Louis?
Working in my 47th year now. I won't be completing it, but I've completed 46 years here.
Wow. So you were how old when you came to work for Al?
I was 18 when I came to work for Al.
And what was it like in those early days in the barbershop?
Well, we weren't very busy, not like we are now, but definitely making more money than I was making elsewhere. In Sunnyvale, I worked for 2 weeks before I came here. And so it seemed good to me, but we used to have a lot of fun here. We used to have water fights and...
water fights?
Yeah, we'd get water pistols and we'd chase each other up and down the street. And sometimes Al would run out of water and he'd go up to the corner and he'd come back with a Shasta bottle and we'd squirt one another, and yeah, we used to have a lot of fun.
A lot of hijinks in this place.
Yeah, if it was a hot day, we'd close the door and go for a swim. It was just different. It wasn't busy all day like it is now.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking a little earlier, Louis, about some of the topics of conversation that go on in a barbershop, and it's always kind of a mystery to women. I mean, men always have this sort of mystery about what ladies do in the powder room when they excuse themselves, and women have this very curious question about what do men actually discuss in a barbershop. So can you let us in on a couple of those secrets? Well, women is the
#1 topic.
Oh, okay.
Men like to talk about women because naturally we all like to be, you know, macho and talk about women. So women is the #1 topic.
Now we know, girls.
Yeah, the #1 topic. I don't know if it's always the truth, but it's the #1 topic.
Oh, now what are some of the other topics?
Oh, we discuss sports, a lot of golf. A lot of golf because Los Altos is a community of golf, really. A lot of people golf here.
Do you
Politics?
golf?
Oh, I love to golf.
You love to golf. So you're right in on the conversation.
I golf twice a week regular, yeah. Oh, the only time I don't golf twice a week is if I golf 3 times.
Okay, so we have women, we have golf and sports,
politics,
and I understand that you have lots of lively discussions about politics in the shop.
Oh yes, yes.
And you and Al have kind of differing opinions sometimes?
Different opinion. If you're going to talk politics in a barbershop, you both can't be the same.
Otherwise, the conversation goes dead.
That's right. So one's got to be a Republican, one's got to be a Democrat, and then you satisfy your customers.
Oh, I see. So
you're always on one of the sides.
They side with one or the other.
Oh, yes. And so Al's always been the Republican, and I've been the Democrat.
For example, what were some of the discussion topics this week in the shop?
This week?
Yes.
This week has been a rare week. The women conversation hasn't been wholeheartedly. The golf, we've been talking more about me retiring and Al reopening the shop and where he's going to be located and what he's going to have in the new shop. So it's been more on that end this week than the normal stuff that we discuss. Oh, we throw a few jokes in here and there, but
I know. That actually was what I was going to say would be the #1 topic of conversation.
Oh, jokes are big.
Are high up there.
Oh, they're big. They're big. They come in fast here, and we release them fast.
Now, how about the stock market? Because this area is
we love the stock market. Yeah.
And I understand that you especially love the stock market.
Oh, I love it. I've done it since I came here 18 years ago.
Now, how do you get do you get tips from your customers?
I got a lot of tips from my customers in the early days when I started, They'd tell me to buy this or buy that, and I'd go buy it. And
what were some of your winners?
Some of my winners?
Yes.
Oh, God. B of A, Bank of America, was a good winner. And of course, Lucent has been a big winner for me now, but that came recently when AT&T offshot it. But I have AT&T, which has been good for me. GTE. I have most of the Bell companies, and they've all been good for me.
So have you invested in any internet companies?
No.
You're staying away from those.
Yeah. In the early days, that wasn't around.
Yes.
And then it came later for me, and I consider that a little more high risk. And as you get older, you don't have a chance to make up your loss, so I never did get into the internet. But I think I would have made a lot more money if I would have gotten into the internet.
Interesting.
But I stayed more with blue chip stock, utility stocks that gave good dividends. I bought mostly stocks that grew with the country than the internet stuff. But I wish I would have bought some Microsoft and it was there.
All of us wanted to do that, right?
But I've done well with what I bought.
That's great.
Yeah.
So tell me, how has Al been as a boss?
Oh, Al's been good as a boss. We get along well. We argue a lot, but that's why we get along well, because we do express our feelings back and forth to one another. I had a customer the other day ask if we ever came to blows, and we never have. In 46, 47 years, we never have. And we never stay mad. We express ourselves, and a half hour later, I don't know, maybe it's the Latin blood we both have in us, but we express ourselves, and then it's all over. It's gone. We've traveled together. Our wives get along well together. We've had no problem with each other in that respect, and we are close, to one another, which should make it difficult.
I know. I understand that you're godfather to one of
Al's twins. Yeah, the twins. In fact, my wife and I baptized them before we were even married.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So your relationship is on many levels.
Oh, yeah. We've got along well. I'll miss Al, definitely, even though we argue all the time. But that's part of we've been working together longer than both of us have been married.
Oh, wonderful.
So, it's,
great.
Al said the other day, geez, it's like we're getting a divorce, but it won't be because we go out together with Al and Carol. And,
Well, I understand that we're going to be participating in a party in a few minutes.
Yes.
And I noticed that there's one of your long-term clients here. I know that we want to interview him and get a little bit of an insight from him about the relationship between you and Al. So thanks for participating today on the Los Altos History Show, and we can't wait for this big party.
Oh, we're excited about it. I'm really excited about it.
Thanks, Louis.
Thank you.
Over the years, I've watched the two of them. For my 20th reunion at Los Altos High, about that time, Louis had a heart attack, and of course, he wasn't cutting hair for a while. So, at that point, we had to get Al to cut my hair, and I saw Sherman at the reunion that year, and I said, "Oh, you went to Al too?" He says, "Yeah, I got number 7 bowl job. That's what happens when you sit in Al's chair."
How do you react to that, Al?
Well, I've always react that to my customers. Like I said, if you can't please them all. You know, if you get in one chair, you wish you got in the other. So that's the way it usually works out in this shop.
Well, it took a good year to get his hair back in shape.
Oh, okay. A whole year, huh? Now, you know, Richard was talking about the flat top. What has been what's the most popular cut now? I remember when I was in college, the Princeton cut was a really popular cut.
With the Ivy League in the old days, and the flat tops and the Princeton cuts. And today, the young kids today are going back to the old-fashioned haircut. They're coming in for crew cuts now, and butches, what they're all going for right now, especially in the summertime. They all go back to butch and crew cuts. And the men are going back to the old-fashioned haircut like we did back in the 40s. So it's getting back. They're turning around about 90 degrees.
Tell me, Neil, are you going to miss Al's Barbershop on Main Street?
I certainly will, and he'd better have one nearby, I'll tell you, because it's an ongoing thing. I certainly enjoy it as long as I can possibly make it, so I'm looking forward to that. That's a shame that they have to tear this down and restructure it, but that's just all part of the city and the woods.
Part of the progress, I guess. And Martha mentioned that her grandfather actually was a client of Al's. So, you know, what do you remember about that, Martha?
Well, the first time I came with John, we mentioned that my grandfather had come here, and Al not only remembered him, but he remembered him in a very personal standpoint. He said, "Oh yes, your grandfather was a very gracious and refined gentleman."
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And how about you, John?
I started coming here about 9 years ago when we moved to Los Altos, and now Martha's father and mother, who are moving in with us, Martha's father comes here, so we're down to 3 generations now coming to see Al. And you can't get a better haircut, and you can't get better conversation, and every subject is open for discussion, and it's always entertaining.
Today was the last day, just had to come down and be the last thing. One of the things I remember most about here is that when there's just guys in there, well, there's guy talk. But let a woman walk through and it's, oh, what was the golf today? How did it work?
Now we find out the real truth. Now, I've heard that the political discussions get quite lively in the shop. Is that true?
Oh yeah, there's always something going on one way or another. You know, I try to stay avoid that and just listen to what's going on rather than participate, because it can get kind of wild.
It's a pleasure to be on here, Al and Louie. Waiting in line. I'm the last one for Louie. It's just been a tremendous pleasure to come in here every month or every 6 weeks for the last 15 years. You guys are the best, and I've recommended you to everybody, and it's just been a pleasure, whether it's my father who's been here, my mother, my kids who love you guys, and we're really going to miss you. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Al's Barbershop is really a family affair, so I thought we would introduce 2 very important components to those families, and they are Carol Geldridge.
Hi.
Hi, Carol. And Anna Mae Pyro.
Hi.
Or Piro. I guess it's both pronunciations. So I've been calling Louie Piro all day, and then found out later on that it's actually sometimes pronounced Pyro. But I know that you are good friends, and as couples, what do you do together?
Well, we've done a lot of traveling, taking cruises, and we've had really a great time together.
So the relationship goes far beyond the workplace. Is that right, Carol?
Oh, yes. We have parties together, and we've become Italian. We go to all the Italian functions.
Oh, really? You're honorary Italians?
I am, yes. It's wonderful.
Okay. So have you been, either one of you, been associated with the shop in any way?
We visit, but not as far as the hair cutting. That's the guy's thing.
That's the guy's thing. Yeah. How about you, Carol?
Oh, just come by to visit and kind of clean up the act.
Okay, I see the relationship now. Okay, well, let's go on with the festivities. Thanks for interviewing with us today.